This is fun slash not fun, classic WoW dungeons and raids edition. Let's begin with low-level dungeons. Ragefire Chasm. Fun. Evil demon worshipping cult lying just underneath the Horde capital of Orgrimmar. Tons of fire, lava, trogs, no memorable bosses, but it is a pretty good first dungeon for Horde players to at least get new players introduced to the game. Wailing Caverns. Fun. One of the few dungeons that you can actually get lost in this game. The vibe in the depths of these caves, it's unmatched as you free the barons from the corruption of the Serpent Lords. It feels like a proper RPG adventure descending into these caverns, and for that reason, we love it. Dead Mines. Fun. One of the most iconic dungeons in classic World of Warcraft for a reason. Decent challenge all throughout. Gotta be careful with patrols though, and the amount of skulls that decorate Van Cleef's personal bedroom must be extraordinary. Also, you get to fight a boss named Cookie, and that's pretty neat. Shadowfang Keep. Fun. Probably the best low-level dungeon, at least in my opinion. Haunted castle in a dark forest, a Worgen curse, evil sorcerer at the top of his tower. What's not to love? This is exactly what any D&D fan would ask for from an MMO. The Stormwind Stockades. Not fun. Bosses are not too iconic or memorable. The design of the dungeon, it's rather simple and boring. The Stockades, it's got some good quests to do while running the dungeon though, let me tell you what, but overall, not very fun compared to the others. Out of the 5 low-level dungeons, 4 were fun and 1 was not fun. Now, let's talk about the Rite of Passage dungeons. Black Fathom Deeps. Fun. This is a very long dungeon, and you'll remember every moment of it. Swimming, fighting turtles, murlocs, cultists, elementals. Black Fathom has everything going for it. The music and the location of this dungeon is awesome too. It feels like you're on the outskirts of civilization and you found this hidden cultist lair, which is exactly the vibe they're going for. I love it. Nomergon. Fun.
Stop acting like you know the way ahead, like you know the rules. There are no rules, man. We're lost.
One can only imagine how many people have gotten lost in this former city of the gnomes. Probably as many people that got lost in Wailing Caverns. The point is, watch out for alarm bots. Nomer is unique in Classic as well because it sort of throws you out of traditional fantasy into this weird steampunk city. And for that reason, it's very memorable and it's very enjoyable. Razer Fenn Crawl. Not fun. Compared with Razer Fenn Downs, this dungeon just isn't as enjoyable or as memorable. Lots of killing pigs, you do get to kill some bats, and there's an escort at the end that feels like it takes forever. I love the setting of the dungeon though, fighting underneath all the giant thorns, but RFK just doesn't do it for me. Scarlet Monastery Graveyard. Not fun. Don't get me wrong. I love Scarlet Monastery, but Graveyard is the weakest of the 4 wings. It isn't that it's poorly designed, it's just way too short of a dungeon. Could have done way more with this one, Blizzard. Scarlet Monastery Library. Fun.
Release the hounds.
In my opinion, Library is the best of the 4 Scarlet Wings. You feel like you're delving into the heart of the monastery with this dungeon, seeking what knowledge is hidden within. And if you're a caster, you're in for a lot of awesome gear from this wing. Scarlet Monastery Armory. Not fun. Armory has some incredible loot that drops from it if you're a plate user. I mean, who doesn't love Herod's Axe after all? But the dungeon is just a giant grind to get to its single boss at the end. Compared to other classic WoW dungeons, this one is just lacking. Scarlet Monastery Cathedral. Fun. The conclusion to Scarlet Monastery. This dungeon has the familiar corridors that you've experienced before, but then it opens up into this giant courtyard, this huge church, and a whole lot of enemies to fight. The Cathedral is also remembered by all for its incredibly nostalgic Mograine fight. And who can forget Whitemane and all the people who simp for her big scarlet ass? It's an awesome dungeon. For the Rite of Passage dungeons, 4 were fun and 3 were not fun. Now, let's talk about the nearing level cap dungeons. Razer Fenn Downs. Fun. Not only are you fighting pigs in this haunted thorn brush infested series of caverns, but you also get introduced to a lot of undead, learning that the Scourge have been manipulating the Quillbore here in Kalimdor. Lot better than RFK, let me tell you what. It's an awesome reveal. Also, you get to fight a Lich at the end of this dungeon, and who doesn't love the Scourge from Warcraft 3? Ultiman. Not fun. This dungeon has just never vibed with me, and I cannot think of a single person who is ever excited to do Ultiman. I like the archaeology theme of it, delving in search of treasure and understanding the mystery of the Titans, but it just isn't as fun as other dungeons in classic WoW. Maybe it's the fact that Ultiman feels very claustrophobic. I don't know. Zulfurak. Fun. Trolls always get cool dungeons from a lore perspective and theme. The sand trolls worshipping their strange gods out in the desert of Tanaris. You gotta put a stop to them. You got Godzilla references. You got a carrot on a stick, man. Look at this thing. Look how fast I'm going. Also, let's talk about Sulthraze the Lasher. Dude, such an awesome weapon. So many iconic things about this dungeon. Zulfurak is great. Moradan. Fun. Yeah, I said it. It's fun. This is a very long dungeon though, with a lot to explore and a lot to talk about. And it is for that reason that I say that Mara is a pretty cool experience. From the dark, satyr-filled caverns to the crashing waterfalls before you meet the dungeon's erotic and sexually stimulating final boss, Moradan is an experience, a long experience you certainly will not forget. Just make sure you got plenty of time to do it before you commit to a run. Sunken Temple. Fun. Again, trolls. You have a creepy temple located in a swamp that when you descend into it, you're greeted with trolls, green dragons, and an immersive experience. It's like you've just delved into some temple of ancient magic forgotten to time. Sunken Temple is also the dungeon that prepares you for our final category of dungeons. For the nearing level cap dungeons, 4 were fun and 1 was not fun. But last but not least, for dungeons, let's talk about the endgame. BlackRock Depths. Fun. Considered one of the greatest MMO dungeons of all time, BlackRock Depths is monstrous in its scale. Even now in 2023, players are left in awe at just how massive and complex this dungeon is, with its bosses, locations, secrets, quests, and more. I don't know what happened behind the scenes at Blizzard to make them, create this whole frickin' city and call it a dungeon, but man, are we thankful for it. BlackRock Spire, lower and upper. Fun. BlackRock Spire is a step down compared to BlackRock Depths, at least I feel in terms of its creativity and scale, but that doesn't mean that it isn't a fun dungeon to do. From corrupt orcs, the Dark Horde ogres, the dragon monsters, BlackRock Spire has a ton to enjoy as an endgame player, and it's always nice to see a new player's first reaction to it. Skolamance. Fun. One of my favorite dungeons in World of Warcraft's history, and for good reason. It's a hidden school of necromancy located beneath a haunted island in the middle of a lake. This is the sort of gaming experience that gamers kill and hope for. Liches, undead, and lore that will make your skin crawl. Skolamance has it all. Strathholme. Fun. Not as good as Skolamance, at least in my opinion, but Strat is a very memorable dungeon due to, well, the fact it's a giant burning city. It's also a massive reference to Warcraft 3, so yeah. Destroying the Ziggurats to access the final boss area, such a cool mechanic. The reveal that the Scarlet Crusade is being led by a Dreadlord is awesome. I love Strathholme. Who doesn't love it? Probably the healers. They probably don't like this dungeon, but we love it. Right, guys? Dire Maul. Fun. In terms of endgame dungeons, I'd say that Dire Maul isn't always given the credit that it's due. People focus mostly on the loot from this place and the Warlock level 60 mount quest, but they never really take a moment to appreciate the vibe of this ruined city of the Highborn, located way out in the jungles of Faerless. With its iconic locations, bosses, and maze-like design, Dire Maul is sure to impress if you've never done it before. In regards to classic WoW's endgame dungeons, all are fun, so well done, Blizzard. But now, let's talk about the raids. Molten Core, not fun. Sometimes called Molten Bore due to its long runs and the sheer amount of trash. Molten Core, despite any criticisms, it does still stand as the most iconic raid of vanilla WoW, however. Going into the heart of Blackrock Mountain feels like a true adventure, and seeing the Fire Lord Ragnaros revealed at the end, it always makes it worth it. At least until you've ran Molten Core a million times. Then you quickly realize why people have this love/hate relationship with the raid. Onyxia's Lair. Fun. Who doesn't log into a fantasy-like MMO or role-playing game and they don't want to be a dragon slayer? We all want to kill dragons, just like Beowulf, but what makes this raid better is that we get to do it with our friends. So many memes about this raid. People love it for a reason. Just make sure you guys keep away from the tail. You don't want to be thrown into the whelps and piss off your raid leader. Blackwing Lair. Fun. Down below in the mountain, you faced the Dark Horde led by Rend Blackhand. You faced Ragnaros, but now you get to face off against the son of Deathwing himself, Nefarian, and all the horrible experiments he's been doing on the various dragon flights to create his own chromatic flight. The bosses in Blackwing Lair are fun. Some, however, are a giant pain in the ass, like Valistraz the Corrupt, always blowing people up, man. Why you gotta do that? But getting to kill the brother of Onyxia makes the big grind and the big adventure through this raid completely worth it. Zoggaroob. Not fun. You would think that a giant troll-themed raid would be, well, fun, but this raid has just never really done it for me and for other people. Often put down as one of classic WoW's weakest raids next to Molten Core, Zoggaroob has a ton of bosses to fight, you can mount up in the raid, and there's some really interesting lore, but the environment, the fights themselves, and the fact that ZG is mostly just a catch-up raid, it makes it not so enjoyable compared to other vanilla WoW raids. Ruins of Ahn'Qiraj. Not fun. I hate bugs, we all hate bugs. And after so much grinding to get that damn Scepter of the Shifting Sands, you're gonna wish you never saw another bug for the rest of your life. But too bad, you gotta run some AQ now. At least you sometimes get to fight some giant Egyptian-like god monsters, that's cool, but still not a fun raid. Temple of Ahn'Qiraj. Not fun. Similar to its sister raid Ruins, this raid just isn't as enjoyable as others in classic WoW. Fighting Cthulhu at the end, however, that's always memorable, especially due to the I-beam mechanic. Watching raids getting blown up by I-beam at the beginning of this fight is always hilarious. I love it. Naxxramas. Fun. Who can't love vanilla WoW's most iconic raid? The legendary Naxxramas, with its settings sending us straight back to those old school Warcraft 3 vibes. And we even get to face off against everybody's favorite necromancer gone lich, Kel'Thuzad. Although not many people have raided original Naxxramas, for those that have, it's certainly a raid they will never forget. For raids, 3 are fun and 4 were not fun. So in total, for classic World of Warcraft's 29 dungeon/raids, we have 20 that were fun and 9 that were not fun. Do you agree with these choices and thoughts? Let me know down in the comments section below, and thank you for watching.